Hello, my name is Maximus and I am a student from Land O'Lakes High School in my senior year of the IB program. And I'd like to thank you first of all for tuning into this video, as today I'm going to be talking about recycling, which is a problem that I'd say isn't really talked about much in school, at least at our level, the high school one. So, let's start with recycling and you, which this is a little PowerPoint presentation that I made to go over the basics of everything that I'm going to be talking about in hopefully this series of videos. And as you can see here, I say with some input from Peter Berglund. That is he. He is a he is a person who works in one of the recycling businesses who I'm going to be talking about. And he has helped me quite a bit by agreeing to go ahead and do an interview with me, so that way we'll get his input from his point of view on the idea of recycling and how it can help the world and in what ways we can do to help in order to make recycling better. Also, please drop a comment or a like below, as it would help with feedback, as I am doing this for a project. Okay, anyhow, let's move on. So, let's talk a little bit about recycling. So, according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, it means to pass again through a series of changes or treatments, and it's more specifically, such as to process something such as a liquid, body waste, glass, or cans in order to regain material for human use. Now, recycling, the basic premise behind it is that we take trash from products that we use, and then we go ahead and turn that trash back into its basic materials. And then after we turn them into their basic materials, then we can go ahead and take these materials and create new products out of them. That way we won't have to produce as much of that material and therefore take more resources from the earth. It's more of a sustainability thing in order to make sure that we're using our resources to the fullest potential that they have. And one problem about recycling is that waste to be recycled has to be sorted, or else the materials can get contaminated and unable to be separated. Think of it kind of like a soup, let's say, where when you put ingredients in, you can't really separate those ingredients back out if it's all mixed together in a liquid. Some pieces of it is still going to be there, and therefore it's not the original product anymore. It has been changed and altered by being mixed with something. And that's one big problem that is encountered with recycling, and hence the reason why probably when you see recycling, you probably think of multiple bins, maybe one for glass, one for paper, or one for plastic, or one for metal cans. So, now, let's move on. Why should people recycle, and why don't they? That is a big question. So, we are constantly using resources, and our consumption of resources is exponentially increasing as the population increases. According to Tumra's website, it is thought that by 2040, our population will increase by 30%. Now, this number is probably decreased a bit because of COVID, but still, that is a huge increase in population, considering that the world's current population is 7 billion, 7 billion plus. So there is tons of people living on the earth, and each day that number increases, and therefore the demand for products also increases. And so, we need to make sure that we account for that increase in demand. And most waste either ends up littered in the environment or in landfills, as shown by the charts, from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation that can be seen on the right here, which shows the plastic material flow. And as you can see, only 14% of plastic is actually collected for recycling. Meanwhile, 32% is leaked out into the environment, 40% is landfilled, and 34% is incinerated at, at power plants in order for energy recovery. And if we look back at the production of the materials required for this plastic, we will notice that only 2% is closed loop recycling, which is plastic recycled back in to create the same product that it used to be over again. And that means 98% of it, that plastic, is actually gained from the environment. And of course, that is not really good for the sustainability of the planet. Now, I believe that people do not recycle because of a lack of accessibility and knowledge about recycling. As really, I do not know about you guys in the chat below, but the last time that I talked about recycling in school was probably all the way back in elementary school, which was a very long time ago. But recycling plays such a big role in making sure that we can hold on to our resources as long as we can and get the most use out of all of them. And honestly, the world's resources are going down the drain fast with the increasing in people and the exponential use of those resources. Not to mention that resources are being leaked into the environment or taking up space in landfills when all that resource could have been used to make the product again. And also, that leakage can cause damage to the environment as well. Now, in my meeting with Mr. Berglund, he tells me, and in essence tells us,
What do you think is the biggest reason why most people don't recycle? Because
Oh, well, this is my personal opinion, and this is not a fact or like researched. I think it's a cultural thing, a lot of thing, and it's connected to attitudes, people's attitudes towards to it. Um, I think I touched upon it a little bit earlier, but some people like think that you're like a homeless if you bring these bottles to the store and collect them, and it's dirty. I don't go with the trash. I just put them in my trash bin, or someone takes it away, or whatever. So I think it connected to stigma in some kind of way, and I'm also I'm convinced that this accessibility and easiness of like getting rid of it is an issue. I'm also a consumer in with our machines, and when I go to the recycling centers here and where I live, and I have to run around, I put wood here, and I need, you know, glass bulbs here and plastic here, and so forth. If I could just go there, like chuck it down a big black hole, and a machine could just put it out the other way, of course I would recycle more.
yeah,
It takes me 5 minutes, and perhaps I get some kickback from it. The company, they make perhaps make $10. If I would just like get $1 or a half a buck, or can I just get some money back? It would be awesome, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that I think is the key. Make some kind of system accessibility and some kind of kickback on it.
okay, now moving on, let's talk about the United States and their recycling environment. So, the US makes up 4% of the world's population, which doesn't seem like much, but we create 3 per no 12% of the world's waste. That's 3% per 1% of the world's population. Meanwhile, in India and China, they have 8 times the amount of people as the US, and yet only double the waste is actually produced compared to the US. Now, as you can obviously tell, the US creates the most waste, in essence, is what these stats are trying to say. And therefore, it seems like it is very crucial for the United States to start recycling its waste, as they are the biggest contributor to the problems in the world as far as waste leakage and other stuff goes. And they are the biggest reason behind the waste of vast amount of resources. And now, the US only has a recycling rate of 35%, which pales in comparison to other countries. And only some of the states inside of the US have started to resolve their recycling issues, which, if you look to the charts in the background, you can see some of these recycling states, which the states in blue are bottle bill states, which we'll talk a bit about what the bottle bill is, which the bottle bill can also be known as the deposit system, which will be talked about in another video. And we can see the top 10 states for recycling inside of the US, with Maine being in the number 1 position and the number 10 position being Iowa. And now, if we look at the bottom, we can see our state, which is Florida. And as you can tell, Florida has a 21% recycling rate, which seems pretty small for one of the most populated states inside of the US. Meanwhile, we look at other populous states such as New York or California, and New York having 51% recycling rate, and California having 44% recycling rate. So, it would probably be in our best interest to try and change this. Now, one thing that has been a help to the United States recycling climate is that for decades the US has exported its plastic waste to other countries such as China, leading the US to only recycle 8% of its plastic waste. But starting in 2018, these countries have placed bans on importing said waste. Now, the reason why this is such a problem is that due to the United States' reliance on other countries for their recycling, we have failed as a country in order to develop our own recycling systems, as we've more of given our problems to other countries. But as of 2018, bans have started to be put in place in gaining and importing said waste that we produce. In addition, those countries that still do accept our waste do not nearly have enough of a recycling basis in order to handle the high demand caused by the United States and their rapid production of trash. Now, there has been some attempts to increase recycling, such as the implementation of the bottle bills or the deposit system, as I said earlier. However, not all states have adopted them. And now, let me talk a little bit about the deposit system, where the deposit system is pretty much a system in place that makes it so that an extra deposit is added on to each recyclable container that you buy. And the best way to think about it is that you are buying the product inside of the bottle, but as far as the bottle goes, you're only borrowing the material that the bottle is made out of. And then what you can do is you can go ahead and return that bottle back to the store or to another store that works with the deposit system in order to get that deposit back from your purchase. for each bottle that you return or recyclable container that you return. And pretty much it serves as a way of motivating people to recycle, as well as a way of streamlining the process of recycling material right back at its source. And so it is happy to see that it's starting to get implemented in the United States, but of course, to make it absolutely effective, we need to have the bottle bill implemented in all states, or at least the majority of them. I'd say maybe 80% would be suitable for a time, as that would be 40 out of the 50 states. Now, let's look to Europe and their recycling. So, recycling in the European Union. So, Europe has made strides to increase the longevity of our resources, such as taxonomy regulation, in which taxonomy regulation is a classification system used to redirect money towards sustainable products. Basically, it's a way of investing money into companies that actually apply modern sustainability solutions, such as recycling and other stuff like that, in order to support these systems to be able to fund recycling and other methods that allows for us to make sure that we are able to use our resources for as long as they are capable of, which is a great idea, in fact, and could also be adopted in the United States in some way, I believe. As well, Europe has big recycling companies such as Tumra, we will be focusing on in this series. In fact, Peter Berglund is actually a person who works with Tumra. And as you can see here at the bottom of the slide, this is the Tumra logo, especially that arrow in the left, in which they have very wide goals for the world, as we will talk about in this next slide right here. So, Tumra. What is Tumra? So, as I stated, Peter Buglund is an employee of Tumra, and listen as he tells you a bit about his work there at the company.
My name is Peter Berglund, and I'm a regional service manager in Tumra Systems AB. That is a Swedish company working in Tumra for 21 years. I've been in now. Yeah, this March it's 21 years. I work in the department of collection. We have a lot of business branches, but I've been here for 21 years now, so I guess that makes me an inventory, so to speak. And my role within the company is both strategically and operational. I manage the 17 service technicians, field technicians in Sweden, that installs, maintenance, and repairs RVMs, reverse vending machines, where you can deposit the cans and PETs after you buy them in the store, so they don't litter in the nature, and we can use the resource over and over again.
Now, moving back onto the PowerPoint, Tumra is a company dedicated to starting and continuing the resource revolution, and intends to be one of the people leading the resource revolution, and so there is big goals for this company. Tumra as well is a global company, but is mostly based in Europe and especially in Scandinavia, as that's where they originated in. And Tumra is a company that tackles recycling and sorting problems through technology, as you could probably see in the picture behind. Peter here will explain what Tumra is best known for.
Well, for me, it's the RVM for sure. Actually, Tumra started off with the RVM section. Two brothers in Norway that invented the first one early 70s. First big customer ever for Tumra was the Swedish Systembolag. We have alcoholic monopol. The Swedish government has it. So they were actually Tumra's first big customer. And from there, the business have grown. And now we are a global runner in both recycling, food, and mining on top of collection. So it has grown into different business areas as well, where we work with optimizing the resources, sorting food, mining, when you break the rocks, analyzing if there's a good enough yield, and recycling is when you handle waste, and our collection business, which is RVMs. Yeah, and that's where I work. Yeah.
One big thing that Peter says that Tumra is known for is the reverse vending machines, which is actually what's shown in the picture to the right, and is a rather brilliant system, which is how Tumra started as a company, in which you get your plastic bottles and other recyclable containers and you put it in the vending machine and it returns the deposit that was put on it by stuff such as the deposit system or the bottle bills. And therefore, it provides streamlined access to these recycling methods. However, in order for it to be very effective, these reverse vending machines have to be more of a commonplace, such as vending machines normally are a commonplace, especially in the United States. Now, Tumra has worked well to combat the wasting of resources to where reverse vending machines are a common occurrence, as Peter will confirm here.
Most they are found in every how do you say, not convenience store, but store where you buy groceries. Supermarkets like a size of it, but in the retail.
Now, what as we, as both United States citizens and students in high school, what can we do in the grand scheme of things? Now, Mr. Berglund has his own suggestions.
But we need support from governance. There need to be rules, legislations, systems. So this is a mix of responsibilities, I would say. We as individual and as living and walking on this earth, we need to take care of it because we want future generations to have the same wealth and same experience as us. If we just use it up, the coming generation we will leave this poorer place. But we need to do this together with governments, regions, and everything. So
Now, to add on to what Mr. Berglund is saying, I believe that we have the gift of choosing our path since we are still high school students and some of us and we still have the opportunity to either change our major in college or to go ahead and seek a different path in college in order to further the betterment of our society. And also, we have the opportunity to create creative technology to solve our recycling issues, similar to what Tumra does with their own recycling and sorting technology that has become a commonplace, even in especially inside of Scandinavia. And also, those who are interested in law and government can change the US through recycling friendly policies and laws. I know that laws and policies don't get passed in one day, but just the increase of more politicians suggesting that we get better legislation in order to make recycling an easier thing for companies to do can definitely help, as one of the biggest boundaries for a company in accepting a recycling process is the cost of it, while the cost of just making the resource over again is more cost efficient, as it's sad to say, our world pretty much runs on currency and money. And now, one big thing to keep in mind is that we are the future. So we have the responsibility of taking care of the world that we are going to be living on in the couple of decades that we still have yet to live. So it's probably best to make sure that the world that we currently live on doesn't end up looking like that picture in the background. Instead, most of those materials in the background can actually be put to use either in the recreation of products or in the collection of it to make sure that we do not have landfills such as that shown. Now, I have a couple of questions for you viewers. After listening to or watching this video, how has your understanding of recycling changed or grown? And also, do you plan on doing anything in the recycling business? Maybe just to change the world a bit? As, honestly, the recycling business seems like a pretty nice place to work, as you will be doing the world a favor and making an effort where others don't. And that is something to put forward to. Thank you all for watching to the end of this video. I can't thank you enough, honestly, on this. And I'd like to say, please leave a like or a comment in the comments below, because I am doing this for a project, and any sort of feedback would help to make next videos be better, or even to make sure that I cover some things that you probably want to learn about. Also, I sort of need evidence for this project to show that it's actually making a difference. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll catch up to you in the next episode. Bye bye. Bye bye.